Good morning, everyone. My name is Jack. I'm the e-commerce advisor from Austrade. As introduced by Belinda, we've been starting the e-commerce work since 2015, and I joined Austrade as the first e-commerce advisor onshore. In the first 12 months, my main focus is in China because China by far is our largest market. And to be able to crack that market, it's a big bonus for Australian exporters. But the more I research in China, the more I realize how competitive the market is and how different e-commerce is different comparing with brick and mortar export. And now we started to look at other markets so that we can increase the portfolio and diversify the risk. So today's presentation will be focusing on China. I'm assuming that some of you have some export experience to China. Actually, can I have a show of hands which one of you actually have exported to China or are exporting to China now? Okay. So anyone using e-commerce channel already? Okay. Good, thank you. So today, in terms of how I want to run it, I'm going to go through the opportunities a little bit, and I'm going to talk about the difference between online and offline. One of the focus I want to have is about how to promote your brand in China, which I think is very important. Let's go through it now so I can introduce you a few points. So the first slide is about the global opportunity on retail e-commerce around the world. As you see, the bigger the bubble is, the bigger the retail sale is. This data is for physical products. That's excluding online travel, delivery, and property sales. So any virtual stuff online is excluded in this data. So we can see China, again, is the largest market, and followed by US. And if we actually looking at the total retail sales, so that's not e-commerce, just the retail physical sales. Again, you can see China and US are very close. But when we look at just e-commerce, we can see China actually presents almost 30% of total retail sales, where US is only around 10%. If we look at Australia, we're probably only close to 6%. So what that means is in China, actually almost 1/3 of the transaction actually happens online. People prefer to go online than go to offline to purchase stuff. And we can also see for other markets, we can see India, Indonesia, and a lot of ASEAN markets presents less than 1% online sale comparing to the total retail sale. But in tomorrow, we can see a lot of the countries are actually experiencing more than 30% growth each year. So if we look closely to China, we can see that the retail sale is growing around 10% and now around 8% this year. It's estimated to be around 8%, but the online sale continues to grow, where in 2018, there's a 34% growth in the e-commerce world. And it's continued growing in around 30% growth. But if you look at cross-border retail e-commerce sale, that means foreign product going into China and transacted online. You can see that the growth is dropping a lot. But we can see there's a spike in 2015 where the free trade zone was set up. And when the free trade zone was set up, we can see a 90% growth in that year. That's almost doubling the transaction volume from last year. And till now, today, we're still having double digit. That's around 15% growth each year. And if you look at the percentage out of the total e-commerce, it's 10% of the total e-commerce. So actually 10% of the products transact online, it's foreign products. So we can see the numbers are quite big, 115 billion US dollars. That's a huge market. And then there's other good news. For example, we've interviewed a lot of platforms such as Tmall, Koala, VIP, and JD.com. In average, Australian, it's our third most preferred country of origins. So the Chinese consumer are liking Australian products. And given that big market and Australians almost third most preferred market, we can see there's a huge opportunities. But there's also untold stories. If we look at the market now in China, all countries wanted to go in China. The health supplements sectors, the US, the Canada want to go in that market. The wine, the French, the European wines want to go in that market. Tasmanian cherry is fighting with chili cherries. So all countries want to go into China, and the Chinese consumer are facing a lot of options. And how to position Australian products is a challenge. And also in a lot of the sectors, it's actually dominated by a few products. For example, if you look at wine industry, almost 80% of the wine is owned to Penfolds or Yellowtails. So it's only 2 or 3 brands in each sector are dominating the market. I've got a real case where one of the largest Chinese retailers coming to me, they've got about 5,000 retail stores in China. They wanted to set up a direct purchasing from Treasure Wines. The terms Treasure Wines give him is they have to buy 1 pallet of Penfolds plus 3 pallets of other brands Treasure Wines want to develop. So I think it's about 5 months now. The 1 pallet of Penfolds sold within 2 weeks, where the 3 pallets still sits there. So the challenge still remains for new brands wanting to go in China. How do they position themselves and how do they stand out of the noisy market? So as for today, I think a lot of my focus, I will shift my focus from the platform to how to brand your product in China and what are the social media channels you can use. So firstly, has anyone heard about B2B or B2B2C concepts before? So I'll just give a quick introduction. So as you see, I've simplified the flow a lot just for the purpose of the presentation. There's probably a lot of second tier, third tier there, but I'm just cut them out just to give you a brief introduction of how the traditional offline export, everyone knows that. But there's one point I do want to point is, you can see in the middle there's importer, and the importer actually does the delivery, does the promotion, and does basically everything on behalf of the exporters. And the consumer actually goes to the physical store, they can see, touch, feel the product, and then bring it home. Where if you look at, that's what we call traditional B2B export. But if you look at the online export, where we call them B2B2C online export, you can see the majority, the importer still does a lot of the physical stuff, but they've got an extra option of selling through one of the online channels. And the difference is the customer no longer go to a physical store and pick up the goods. They actually go to the online channels, whatever platform or own website they choose, and get to see the product. And they don't have the chance to actually get to touch the product, get to taste the product, or get to feel the product. So the challenge now becoming, how do you deliver your product's feel to your consumer? And if we take a step further, if we look at the B2C online channel, you actually cut out the middleman, the importers, and you directly either list on one of the platforms or you actually create your own website and then sell through your own website. I think the word list is important. The reason being is you are listing on the platform, you're not selling to the platform, so they are not going to pay you as standard terms where B2B operates. And actually, you can see the big arrow going to the consumer. You actually have to do your whole promote, and you have to create product information to give that feeling to your customer. You have to think on how to collect the payments from your end consumer. It's no longer a bulk payment. It's an individual payment from each of the consumers. And there's delivery return and ongoing relation. How do you manage the relation between you and the consumer? There's a lot of work that needs to be done, but the beauty of it is actually you don't have that importer in between, so you're actually enjoying the whole profit margin, and you get the feedback directly from your consumer. It's no longer an importer give you a monthly report or quarterly report. You actually get to see the results yourself and directly from the consumer. So based on our case studies and studies in the past 2 years, we created 2 sets of models we want to create. So for companies that has not decided which country to go, we kind of created a 3-step easy research. So the first one, obviously, is to research and select which markets you want to go. For that step, we recommend the exporters, especially the starting exporters, to look at 1 or 2 markets first, because the more markets you go to, the more complicated you'll get. And then we've got to think about the business model, whether you want to do a B2B or B2B2C or a B2C model. Sometimes the local regulation restricts the business model. For example, India, you can only do B2B2C because the country's regulation requires you to have an importer in that country. Where China, it's open up for a B2C where you can go directly to consumer. And 3, to set up and maintain your online presence, where on the right-hand side, we kind of created a simplified version of the sales cycle. So you started to promote your product. And then when you promote your product, you have to think how you present your product information. And then you got to convert yourself and collect the payments from your consumer and then deliver an ongoing relation. So for today's purpose, I'm going to simplify this research because I'm assuming everyone has targeted China as your market of entry. I'm going to focus on the right-hand side, and I'm going to focus on the first 2 points, promotion and detailed product information, which is related to branding. So I think we've heard a lot about more than just platform, but what actually that means is we can see in China, if we look at the ecosystem, the platform is important because that determines where you want to sell your product. But also what other important elements is you want to look at where you want to market your products. Because as I said, in a traditional business model where there's a retail store, people may walk past that retail store and might pick up the product because it's got good packaging, because the shop has a good decoration, etc. But on online space, if you not actively promote your products, and people, if your product is on the 10th page of the research, no one's going to visit that store. No matter how good your product is, no matter how good you have packaged your product, if it's not showing in the first 3 pages, the product is lost in the virtual space. So that's why the online media and entertainment element is important to present your product in front of your consumers. And also you got to think about how to deliver your products. In China, if it's a domestic transaction, the Chinese consumer are expecting 1 to 3 business day deliveries. If it's an international shipping, they are looking at 3 to 5, maximum 7 days delivery time. So if anything longer than that, they can return the product with no question asked. So you got to think how to utilize your logistic channel so you actually deliver the product right in front of the consumers. And also you got to think, are you going to control the whole marketing strategy yourself, or are you going to have a partner to help you to do that? And also for people that are looking to set up a website in China, you got to think about your internet speed. If your physical hosting is in US, then it's probably going to be very slow for the Chinese consumer to view your page, etc. So you got to think about whether you want to use a cloud technology to help to increase the speed, or you want to set up your physical hosting in Hong Kong. So there's a lot more elements than just the platforms, but we will start with platforms because that's the entry point. That's where you start. So if we look at some data, the Chinese consumers, 80% of the Chinese consumer actually use a smartphone or mobile phone to buy products. So either you want to set up your own website or you want to go through one of the platforms, you've got to think about it has to be mobile friendly because that 80% of your targeted consumer is using that channel to buy. 75% use in-store, and around less than 70% use desktop or laptop to make a purchase. If you look at the middle chart, Tmall Domestic or Tmall Global has the largest market share with almost more than 50% of the market, followed by JD and Suning. So Alibaba still holds strong in that e-commerce space. But if you look at a cross-border e-commerce transaction where if you only count the foreign product transacted online, Tmall is actually second largest. The largest, who has the largest market share is actually koala.com. Has anyone heard about koala.com or koala.com? So the platform is a pure cross-border e-commerce platform. It only sells foreign products. It doesn't sell any locally made products, which position them into a very niche market position. And that's why 25% or almost 1/4 of the Chinese consumer choose to perform a cross-border transaction on koala.com comparing to Tmall.com. And one of the difference koala.com provides is it's actually about 2 years ago, it actually started as a direct purchasing platform. That means they will go out and actually purchase, they will act like a buyer and sell through their website. But because what they find is there's a huge variety of products offering by the Australians, and it becomes more and more risky for them to take up products and have that inventory in their warehouse. So nowadays, you can see their business model shifted from almost 80% of direct purchase to now around 50% direct purchase and 50% marketplaces. So marketplaces is like Tmall Global or JD where they provide you a virtual space to list your products. So in summary, there's 4 major business models in terms of e-commerce. Of course, people can get innovative and creative, have other business models, but these 4 are the most used for business models online in China. So the first option is to set up your own flagship store in one of the platforms, for example, Tmall or JD.com. It is very expensive. For a Tmall or JD.com, if you want to set up a flagship shop, it's not just setting up the store. You need to have an on-ground team in China to manage the store. That's customer service, delivery, promoting your product, having a strategy in China. So that third-party service provider, we call them TP, Tmall Partner, and they usually charge you a lot of money as well to be able to promote your products. So it is very expensive. If you only have limited stock, like SKUs, for example, if you only have 2 products to choose, it's not that worthwhile to set up your own flagship shop. Just imagine if you were going to set up in Westfield, having your own store, if you only have 2 products showing, there's not a good option to have your own stock of your own store because it's quite expensive and each SKU should a huge cost, which comes to the second option, distributors selling onto platforms. So there's 2 kinds of distributors. One is a B2B model, basically a middleman that sells directly to one of the store owners on Tmall or JD, or some people that already established a shop on Tmall or on JD.com and offering a product listing opportunities. Some of the case studies are Woolworths. So Woolworths has set up an online store on Tmall, selling the products that they're selling in Australian. And for those that already have a channel with Woolworths, you can negotiate with Woolworths and having your product sold through their platforms. But that way, you don't have to spend all the cost of setting up the flagship store, but you still need to think about how to promote your product because Woolworths is probably selling thousands of products. How to make your product outstanding is a challenge. The third option is direct purchasing platforms, which I've briefly mentioned when I introduced Carla.com. There's a similar competitor to Carla.com. It's called VIP.com. They do direct purchasing model as well, but they are focusing on baby stuff, fashion, and skincare products. The fourth option is selling through your own website. So creating your own website, make shopping cart available, make Alipay, WeChat Pay, the payment system available in China, and transact through your own website. However, this option is very challenging in China because as you see before, Tmall, JD, the top 4 platforms owns almost 98% of the market share. To compete with them and selling to your own website is challenging. And remember that Facebook, Google is not available in China. So how do people search your platform is another challenge. So a lot of people choose to start with Tmall and JD first. Once they got their branding, once they got their market share, and then they set up their own store and sell through their own website. And now I'm going to talk about the marketing strategies in China. So as we can see, the top strategy used by our marketing agencies are flash sale strategy. So meaning discounting your product to make a market entry. VIP.com is actually specialized in flash sales. They started as a flash sale website and to Chinese consumer is very price sensitive. So that strategy is well used by a lot of products. But for brands that want to make yourself a premium branding, maybe that's not an option, which if you look at the second one is product reviews and assessments. That means having a good product introduction, having a good, well-designed product images on the marketplaces, which I will go through a little bit further later on. And the third most used strategy is daily new products. So Chinese consumer wanting to see new products offered to them every day, literally every day, not every month, every week, every day. They want to see something new. They want to use new products, and which means the customer loyalty isn't very strong in China, the concept. So you probably need to push your HR to think about new ideas, to be innovative, how to make your product seems creative to the Chinese consumers. And if you look at the second chart where they talk about what are the social media strategies used by marketing agencies. The top one is actually used KOL, key opinion leaders, which I will go into deeper details later, and internet celebrities. A second one is corporate WeChat account. Does everyone know what WeChat is? Does anyone not know WeChat? Put your hands up. Okay, it's good. So I will skip the, anyone not know WeChat? Okay, so WeChat is like a WhatsApp, but in Chinese version. And basically, everyone in China uses that, either for friends, connections, or commercial ads. And even you can pay your electricity bills, you can purchase through your WeChat app. So it's a one-app that actually makes you survive in China. So in China, there's a famous saying is, you don't have to bring a wallet. All you have to do is have your mobile and have WeChat installed. So having that WeChat, because it's such a widely used app, so having a strategy around WeChat is important. And again, social CRM. So I'm going to talk about a little bit more on the far right-hand side, why the promotion is important in China. If you look at the top right side, so basically the data company went out to 20,000 Chinese consumers and asked what's your purchase decision based on? And almost 90% say I made my purchase decision based on the product placement and the comments, meaning that they actually answer to how well you design your product information. If you compare to other countries, the second largest is US, only 50%. So half of them doesn't give much attention to how well the product information is, which explains, has anyone looked at Amazon or eBay, shopped on Amazon, eBay before? So if you do shop on eBay and Amazon, you can see the product is poorly presented. You have a picture of front, a picture of back, maybe a picture of the label, that's it. But if you ever go to a Chinese website, a marketplace, you see the product image they present, you will be amazed how colorful or how much detail they present. They tell you the farm, if it's a wine, they show you the winery, they tell you what's the best matching food to the wine, and they tell you how it's labeled, where it's from, how do they have their supply chain, so you can make sure it is authentic products. So actually the product goes in a lot of details, which again, I'm going to show you an example later on. So we can see 90%, almost 90% of Chinese consumers will make their purchase decision based on how well you present a product. And again, almost 80% will buy product that's recommended by a celebrity, which is, again, a KOL or online celebrity. So that's why the online marketing or social media strategy is important in China, because the Chinese consumer does respond to how well you do your marketing. So the first strategy, obviously, is when you do list it on a platform, how do you do your marketing on the platforms? So, of course, the photos are important, but what about the videos? So based on JD.com's 2017 report, 25%, a quarter of their consumer will actually finish the whole video, whatever video you present on your flagship store, on your product listing. And home apparel, food, auto parts are the top 3 categories that have videos. And the average length of the video is 51 seconds. Again, a high quality video can increase the conversion up to 18%. That's almost 20%. So 1/5 will change their decision from not buying to buy based on how well you present the video. I'm going to give you a quick 2 examples of how they present the video. It's the kind of video we say educational video. So you can see the Chinese word tells you how long you cook the steak for, and how well you want to cook the steak, and what vegetable goes with the steak. And then it tells you that's how it is cooked.
Simple.
Yeah, very simple. And the sauce that goes with it. And that's the final product. I'm going to pause there. So if you ask me, I would say that doesn't look very good, but this is one of the most popular video on JD.com, and the product itself is one of the most popular Australian beef. The reason behind that is the video wasn't very high quality designed, it wasn't pre-scripted, but it wants to give the consumer a real life experience. So basically what you see there, it's what you get in your home, and that's how you cook, that's the final product. When the consumer did buy the steak and when they did cook according to the video, they see exactly the same matching. So there won't be any mismatching between what the customer wants and what the product is offering. So the purpose of the video is actually teaching the consumer how to cook the steak, what vegetable that goes with the steak, and how long you want to cook the steak for. And it wants to present to the Chinese consumer a real feeling, saying that this is what you get, this is exactly what you get. You're not going to have false advertising or any false because we set up the lights or because we had better cook. I'm going to show you a second video. So you can see this one gives you a lot of premium feel. It's pre-designed, high quality, and gives you a very branded product. So I guess the second one is really focusing on the branding. So how premium the wine is, the winery, how well the product is packaged, etc. Well, the first one is really focusing on the product, the beef, how delicious it is, how do you cook it. So depending on your purpose, do you want to do a little bit of education? Do you want to tell your customer how do you use your product? Or do you want to emphasize on the branding, how premium the product is? So you really need to think what message you want to deliver to your consumer and design your videos. And a well-designed video will speak to the consumer, and the consumer will answer your videos. So as I promised, WeChat. So most of people here knows WeChat. Everyone think, oh, everyone use it, but what exactly it means in a commercial term? Because everyone use it to chat with your Chinese counterparties, to chat with your friends. But when you put in a commercialized terms, we've got 3 different accounts. One is called subscription account. Second one is service account. Third one is called international account. Subscription account provides you a platform to share your stories. So you can talk about your branding, how to use your product, where it's coming from, how the story behind your brand story. So it provides words and photos and sometimes videos, where the service account actually offers a transactional function. So it allows you to sell your product. It allows you to have a royalty points program or voucher system. So, but unfortunately, the service account is not available to international companies. Reason being is because there's a transactional function, you need to have a Chinese bank account to be able to receive the money. And only Chinese company can register Chinese bank at the moment, which goes to the third account called international accounts. So the foreign company can't register subscription account and service account, so they can only register international account. The international account will not have a transactional function. It will only allow storytelling function. So a lot of people, and only international WeChat user can look at that international account. So a lot of people think it's usually because it's international users only. I can't speak with Chinese consumer directly, but it's not. If you think about the overseas students here, if you think about the tourism markets here, how many Chinese customers coming into Australia, the international account gives you an opportunity to speak with that community. There's a huge Chinese community in China coming to Australia every year, and there's a huge market for overseas students. So if you can use international accounts and target those localized Australian-based Chinese community when they do come back, it's a word-to-word marketing effect. So it's actually worthwhile to look at your internet accounts. Again, setting up the account, it's not the focus. It's the strategy behind it is you have to think about what you want to use with those commercial accounts. There's 3 outcomes the 3 strategies you want to think about when using WeChat. The first one is get as many users as possible. So the WeChat system is a little bit different with Twitter. So you have to, so as me as a consumer, I have to subscribe to that account to be able to receive information for that account. So if I'm not a subscriber to that account, I will never receive any information. So as a information provider, you want to encourage as many users to subscribe to your account as possible. So not just a hard product sell, it's more about your story, educational. If it's a wine, you tell them how do you tell it's a good wine or not, what's matching the wine, how do you make wine look premium. So it's more educational that the subscriber find interesting and find useful than they will subscribe to your account. The second one is you want to encourage your audience to spend on your product. Innovative marketing and innovative for example, vouchers. If you subscribe to the account, if you read the account, you get a voucher. So those systems can help to encourage the audience to actually spend on the WeChat accounts. The third one, it's equally important, is the back-end monitoring. So you need to monitoring what's the feedback your customer are giving to you. If it's a food, is the packaging, is the pack too big, too small? Are they looking for different packaging? Is the bottle leaking out of, if it's oil, is it leaking out of bottle? So you want to get that information back from your consumer so you can analyze and determine and change your marketing campaign in China if needed. KOL, so how many of you heard about key opinion leader? Okay, so key opinion leader, it's like an online celebrity or blogger. So for those, everyone knows blogger, right? So the difference between the Chinese blogger and the Western blogger, I guess, they're actually acting like a celebrity. And they are not limited to like food celebrities or movie stars. They are actually chefs, professional pharmacists, and professional moms sometimes to recommend product based on their professional backgrounds. So if you look at the market, so in 2018, it's estimated that the market for KOL is about $17 billion US. If you go back to that cross-border e-commerce total market share, it's about 10% of that total cross-border e-commerce. So 10% of the total cross-border e-commerce actually spent to those KOLs. And the payback is huge as well. So the KOLs, they have an agent company. So in terms of commercial back-end operation, they pretty much act like a celebrity. But because they're professionals, the consumer trusts them, and they are paid ads, but they are not pre-designed, or they do not push customer to buy. They mostly say, I've used this product, it worked well on me, or if it's a chef, this is the way you cook it, and I really like the steak because it's from Australia, and as such. So it does not just like a normal ads where they say this product is awesome and why you use this every day. It's slightly different. I'm going to go through some of the platforms they operate. So the first two, obviously, it's WeChat and Weibo. So I've asked about WeChat. Anyone heard about Weibo in China? So I think anyone going to China heard about Weibo. So I'm not going to read the information. I'm going to share the presentation, but I do want to give some highlight points about each of different platforms. For WeChat, as I said, because it's a subscribe model, so people need to subscribe. To be able to subscribe account, I need to go through 3 clicks. So it's actually complicated for consumer to subscribe to a WeChat account, but also that provides to the consumer its privacy. So I don't get annoyed by hundreds or thousands of ads every day. I'll only choose the accounts that I want, meaning that whoever subscribes to your account is interested in your product. So you have a very precise targeted audience. And also, there's a lot of KOLs have their own WeChat account. So if you look at the example I give, it's Mr. Bags. So he is one of the most well-known luxury bag KOL in China. I think each post, they charge a lot more than the average there. And he's worked with Louis Vuitton or Gucci, all the big brands. And people subscribe to his account are people that are actually wanting to buy these bags. If I'm not interested in these bags, I will not subscribe to this account. So that's why it's so targeted. And when you look at his fans, if he tells you that he's got 1 million fans, you know that 1 million fans is someone that wanting the product he's pushing. In terms of costing, you're looking at an average of 740 AU dollars to around 7,000 AU dollars, depends on how many fans he's got. That's each post. So remember, WeChat allows you to have a daily post or monthly post, depending on how frequent you update. So each post is about 740 to 7,000, depending on how many fans, how well the program goes. And usually it comes with a commission as well. Weibo on the right-hand side, it's a different. So Weibo, it's more like Facebook. The way I subscribe to Weibo, any Weibo account, it's just one simple click. So someone tells you he has 10 million fans, maybe only 1 million is interested in the product because it's so easy to subscribe to account on Weibo. So Weibo tend to have a lot bigger fan space than WeChat, but the challenge is you don't know which fans it's actually a real fan that wanting to buy the product, or they're just, because it's so easy to subscribe, I can just make a simple click. So again, you can see there's a lot of skincare products on Weibo, and later I'm going to show you one Weibo account that actually promotes Tasmanian cherry and show you how they work. But usually, until end of 2017, you pay KOL. KOL posts a video. It can be a video, it can be an image, it could be any marketing campaign, it could be a story. And usually at the end of the post, they give you a link. The link is either to your own website or to one of the platforms that you're selling the product. Usually the KOL puts the video or the content for free on Weibo, but at the end of 2017, Weibo created a backend system where they wanted to charge the KOLs. And the amount of they want to charge the KOLs is 100% of the commission that the company is paying the KOL. So you're looking at doubling the cost. But the challenge is the Weibo system it's hard to track which one is commercial, which one is individual people putting personal video. So the system is not mature enough to track all commercial videos. But in time, there's marketing agencies suspect that Weibo will give a high charge on any of the commercial KOL promotional video. That's the difference between WeChat and Weibo. The third one is Little Red Book. Anyone heard about Little Red Book? So Little Red Book is a social media platform plus a transactional enabled marketplace. So basically you can think it as a Facebook plus an eBay. So if you go to Tmall, you can see a lot of stores, a lot of products. But if you go to Little Red Book, you actually see individual reviews on products. You don't get to see the product directly. You get to see different KOLs putting on different reviews on products. And people make their purchase decision based on the reviews the KOL provides. So it's a more social review-based product platform rather than Tmall JD pushing the product, pushing the store. And they actually have a lot of shops or stores owned by online celebrities. So Fan Bingbing is one example. So Fan Bingbing is one of the most well-known lady celebrity in China. She owns a store on Little Red Book. Any product that's on her store will have at least 1 million purchase every month, and she charges ridiculously as well. But this is one of the ways you look at social media platforms. So this Little Red Book is actually quite interesting. He's becoming the 5th largest cross-border selling marketplaces now, and the costs going on the platform is getting higher and higher because they know it works. Because it's not a hard product push, it's more a review based. So people say, I've used it, it's good, and that's why I promote it. So look at some of the market agencies. The Little Red Book charges about 15 to 20% commissions based on what product categories you're on. The difference between Little Red Book and other marketplaces, in JD or Tmall, you are looking at creating that product information yourself, where in Little Red Book, the KOL you appoint actually creates the product. They look at the product and they find what's the niche point they want to promote or market to the Chinese consumer, and they create the marketing content on your behalf. Douyin, or known as TikTok. So according to official data in China, in 2018, Douyin or TikTok is the most downloaded app in Apple Store, about 300 million subscribers. So the way Douyin works is they present short video marketing thing or short video. Most of the video there, it's not for products, it's just celebrities or KOLs making jokes or putting on short video contents. But now it has become commercialized. A lot of KOLs actually put short video on these platforms and then hence to sell the products. It doesn't have a transaction function, and you can't actually share the videos because they're trying to block the second tier, third tier sellers. The Douyin people sometimes have tens of millions of subscribers, but most of them are there looking for fun, for interesting video contents. And the hard marketing with Douyin is because it's video content based. People are not following any individual person. People look at the video and then they forgot whoever's providing the video there. Each video have their lifetime. So usually a video only lasts for 2 or 3 days maximum. So let's say if you paid AOL to do a video, if the video become popular, it will only last for 2 days. It's an overnight success story. So it's a short-term boost. It's not a long-term strategy planning because people are not going to see that video over and over again. So that's I guess one of the disadvantages of Douyin or TikTok. Live streaming. So live streaming now becoming more and more important in China. And one of the market agencies actually commented, people go to live streaming, go to see this video because they wanted to buy the product. So they want to see someone use the product, eat the product, or feel the product in real time so that they can buy based on that real video shooting. So a lot of the live streaming will only live for a couple of weeks because it's lively shot, and then after the promotion, the live streaming goes off. Again, live streaming is not a pre-subscribed video. It wants to give the consumer a live feeling that the thing is coming out of live. It's not something that I designed before. And when you are thinking about the live streaming strategy, think about there's a lot of things could happen because it's shoot live. It's not something you design. If you're walking on the street, there might be a stranger bumping in, and everything is recorded. Last year, when Koala signed up Woolworths, the CEO of Koala, Lily Zhang, came to Australia, went to Woolworths, did a live streaming, walking around Woolworths, showing the product. She got so excited. She said, well, the first 100 people that purchase on Woolworths shop in Koala gets it free. We return all the money that you paid. So she's excited, but the backend system people are so worried because she has not talked with the team before. So it's not about the money, it's more about how do they do the refund, the technology backend. So because the CEO got excited, the backend system had to think of how to make up to her promise. So when you think about live streaming, it's not just about the day you're shooting the video, it's more about you thinking about what could happen and what you want to deliver out of the live streaming. I just want to, because of time, I just want to quickly wrap up, just 2 minutes. I know there's a lot of information about China. I haven't touched on pricing strategies. I haven't touched on important dates, Double 11, June the 18th. But if I'm going to cover everything, I can lock you up and then just speak for the whole day. But I think one of the most important things is speak to as many parties as possible, get as many information as possible, and have your strategy ready. I think Kim talked before, it's a very noisy market. A lot of consultants trying to come up and say they offer this and that service. It's not hard to track what they're doing because they're probably servicing one of the store on Tmall. Ask them to provide the link, ask them to provide what services they have done before, check their histories, check their case studies, and make sure that you have a strategy as well as they have a strategy, and then you look at if the two strategies can combine and can speak to each other. China is not a market. I know it's a huge market, it's a huge opportunity, but it's not a market that you can just go in and get the money. I've worked with a lot of major retailers in Australia. One of the most amazing things I heard about China is one of the most successful brands in Australia said if they can break even in the first 2 years in China, they consider it a very successful model. So please don't think of China just a big dollar mark, but think about your strategy and think about your approach. Not just investment, but reinvestment. People in China have options. So think about your strategy and have it prepared and pick the right partner in Australia. Thank you.